Welcome everyone. So I'm Karen Burrow. I'm Professor of Trauma Sciences at Barts in the London School of Medicine, which is part of Queen Mary University of London. I'm a trauma surgeon at the Royal London Hospital. So what I'm going to do is just run through the course structure so everyone understands the course, but also give you an idea of kind of the ethos of the course and why we set it up in the first place. Tell you what you'd expect if you were to come and join the course. So this is the 10th year actually of the MSc programs in trauma sciences. We started in 2011 and the course has evolved somewhat since then, but we've graduated somewhere in the region of 250, 300 students now. From all over the world, all seniorities, multi-specialty, multi-professional, paramedics, nurses, some clinical managers, some people who are just interested in the subject. And really our goals for setting it up were born of a desire to move away from the way that trauma was normally taught, which was, you know, A, B, C, D, E, you do things in rote order, you do things the same every time, and there is one way of doing things and you don't really understand why you were doing those things, to something that really allows you to have a much deeper understanding of the biology of injury and what happens to the body when it's been injured, what happens to the person when they've been injured, and also how they then get rebuilt and reconstructed and how they recover or not from injury. But something that therefore gives you a full understanding of the complexity of what it's like to be injured, but also then the complexity and how all the different components of care take shape around that person and should be geared towards that very patient-focused care. So from whether you're in pre-hospital care, whether you're emergency medicine, anesthesia, surgery, rehabilitation, physiotherapy, everybody has a part to play in it, but really the more you can have much more input and much more effect if you understand what has come before and what will go after, and more importantly, why you are doing things. And in understanding why, you can then understand what you should be doing and how you can best deliver that. So we felt that there was a need to offer education that had some depth to it, and then also education that fit where the disease was the most prevalent. And of course, it's a global disease that has global reach. And so we needed to make it as global as possible. And so it's been distance learning from the start, essentially. A lot of universities are trying to pivot to distance learning now, which is basically record the same old talks that they gave in person. But we have learned a lot about how to deliver effective distance learning over the past 10 years. And it's not the same, but it's really been vital for us to be able to teach people over a distance, because it's meant that we could offer the same level of teaching and interaction to people who are around the corner from the Royal London Hospital as we could to people in Southeast Asia, in China, in Africa, in North America. And also that they bring their own experience and input into that then, so that actually what we're doing is learning from each other about the condition. And so many of our experience is very much focused on our own personal experience of one hospital or one small region, and so therefore we naturally think there is one way of doing things, whereas actually there are many ways of achieving the same goal, and many of the things that we have to do every day are tailored to the environment that we find ourselves in, the expertise that is around us, what interventions we have available to us. And that's even more stark when you are in a lower middle income country, when you're trying to offer humanitarian trauma care, when you're in a military field, when you're in the middle of a disaster or a mass casualty situation. And so hopefully what we try and do is build this framework within which you can deliver injury care, no matter what your specialty, no matter what your background, because you have the understanding of what it takes to help somebody survive and recover and after injury, contextualized for where you are and where you want to go in your future career. And the other thing that's important to us and was important to the course from the beginning is that this is very much adult learning. It's not medical student learning or school learning where we shove lots of information at you. This is about adults learning in the era of the internet, where you can look up anything on Wikipedia or anything. So this is not about shoving lots of information down your throat. This is about teaching you about the experience of learning, finding equipment, finding knowledge, learning from each other, sharing learning, and actually developing your knowledge as you go. So actually every year has been different, not just because the content gets updated, but also because the participants are different and they get different things out of it and put different things into it. And so the faculty learn as much as well because of all the experience that we are exposed to from the people. So the course is based here. This is the Blizzard Institute, which is part of Queen Mary. This is where the Centre for Trauma Science is, and this is in Whitechapel in East London. This is where Chris sits when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, and where my Ross and my office is. And if you come to summer school on the course, this is where we're based for summer school. And right next door on campus is the Royal London Hospital, which is the big blue building in the back, or the new Royal London Hospital, which is the big blue building in the background, which is one of the busiest major trauma centres in Europe. And so there's a very close interplay between the university and the hospital, and it's very much a clinical academic course and not a pure university course or a pure hospital-based course. And there's a lot of experience and there's a wealth of knowledge from the clinicians in the hospital that's also brought to bear on the course. But we're not limited to faculty from the hospital being distance learning, and so actually your faculty is global, and we've chosen the best faculty for the best experience in terms of the different lectures and the different topic areas and the different knowledge, and that is a true advantage of the distance learning program. It's just another view of the Blizzard. I have no idea why I put another picture of the Blizzard in, apart from it's a nice building. These are the labs underground where our wet lab research is done. So our trauma sciences programs, we offer 3 programs. You may know this already. We started with trauma sciences and trauma sciences military and humanitarian, which are only slightly different from each other, and I'll explain that difference. And then we've more recently, but I think now in its 5th or 6th year, run the orthopedic trauma sciences course, which has a more orthopedic focus, reconstructive focus to it. In the university, these come as part of a suite of acute care courses now, which includes a critical care MSc and a emergency medicine MSc. But this one, ours are purely focused on trauma, but the breadth of trauma from pre-hospital care all the way through to rehabilitation and recovery, although focusing more on the front end most part. And it's 2 years part-time effectively, so most people are holding down busy clinical jobs or other jobs at the same time. And so year 1, there are some core modules, 6 core modules in year 1, and then a 7th elective module, which is either burns and wound healing or military and humanitarian. You can do, if you're on the trauma sciences MSc, you can do either elective. If you're on the military and humanitarian MSc, you have to do the military elective. But you see all the content from the course, so all the course content is available to you. Then we have a summer school where participants come to East London for 2 weeks during the summer, and we have a very immersive program of experiential trauma, I would say is probably the best way of describing it. It's not, we don't teach you really any didactic stuff then. It's all about different, trying to integrate everything that you've learned. It's an optional summer school because we recognize that some people can't get away from where they are for 2 weeks or can't afford to or something, but it's a part of the course that really brings everything together. And then year 2, there's a research methods module, and that leads into your dissertation. And the dissertation is essentially something that's potentially publishable. We have had a number of people publish their dissertations, but it's a research-based dissertation which you're expected to complete by the end of the year, and I'll talk more about that. In terms of the modules that you'll cover, so these are the 7 modules, or 6 and 2 elective modules. So each module is 4 weeks, and so you've got trauma, the disease, which covers epidemiology and some principles, if you like, principles of pre-hospital care, principles of mass casualty care, principles of trauma scoring, and also about systems of trauma care and different trauma systems around the world and how they organize themselves or not. Then module 2 is hemorrhage and the response to injury, which is the one that Ross leads on, and we talk about the body's response to being injured, and leads into the majority of the module, which is on shock management, bleeding, coagulation, etc. Module 3 is brain and spinal cord injury, with a strong focus on brain injury as disability and obviously injury. Then the following semester, in the start of the year, rolls on to torso trauma, which is more clinical, about the management of different aspects of torso trauma. Then into extremity and vascular trauma, and then a module on the critical care aspects of trauma. And then into the 7th module, which, as I said, is either burns and wound healing or military and humanitarian. Each module has its own module director who runs the course for that 4 weeks, and who you'd have direct contact with over that time. And in general, the modules are structured as the first week as principles, which may be biology, systems principles, things that are basic to the understanding. 2 weeks that roll into more clinical matters, and then moving towards what's coming in the future, things that are coming down the line, new innovations in the 4th week. It's flexible, of course, but that's the generic structure of the modules. And it's all run through a QM Plus system, so which is an educational online system which has a number of components, and essentially each week's content is released at a time, so you don't get overwhelmed by having everything all at one go. And there's an assignment associated with each section of it, which is usually a small quiz. But 3 of the modules have 3 essays associated with them that you have to complete and are marked by the faculty tutors. And then within each week, what will happen is you'll get a number of lectures opened up, and these are very high quality now, lectures delivered by experts in the field. This is John Holcomb from now Alabama University, who talks about damage control resuscitation. So you have these lectures where you can see the lecturer and the content. And there's usually between about 5 and 8 of those per week. And there's some associated reading materials, and then the assessment at the end of the week, and then the week starts again with a whole new bunch. So it is quite a lot of material. The material's available to you the whole time, but it is a reasonable amount of work, and so you have to be quite organized to keep up with it all while you're also trying to do a job and something. But it's definitely doable. It becomes your free time and your Netflix, basically, your Netflix substitute, basically. And then once or twice a week, we hold online sessions where essentially you dial in with the module organizer or course director, and you talk through whatever you want to talk through, basically. Usually it'll start with a case or something that people want expanding on from the lecture materials, something to clear up anything that you don't understand. Use some real cases to illustrate some of the principles, anything really, but again, very much learning from each other. And not everybody can make every online session, and that's completely fine. They are recorded, but it's a way of getting a much closer relationship, both with your tutor, with the module director, to actually engage in direct discussion, but also to start hearing other people's point of view and thoughts, and meet each other that way. And then it's summer school, which, as I said, is not didactic. We run a number of programs to kind of bring everything together in different ways. This is a session that's run at the Simulation Centre in the Educational Academy at Barts. We have sessions with London's Air Ambulance on the helipad, talking about managing these situations, difficult situations, team management, that sort of thing, and buckets of water being chucked over you for no apparent reason. Ross runs a difficult decision day. We run a wet lab on how to do a resuscitative thoracotomy and why you should do a resuscitative thoracotomy at veterinary college. And the whole thing is also brought together by a group project, where essentially the whole group is tasked with coming up with a solution to a problem. And that's something that runs throughout the whole 2 weeks. And there's some strange shenanigans that happen in summer school that I'm never party to, and I have no idea what's going on. But a good time is had by all, as well as quite a lot of intense thinking and learning about yourself. And the other thing that we're trying to do really is create leaders for the next generation of trauma care. And although these people don't look like leaders, they've managed to bond together in a very short period of time over some very hard work, actually. And there's definitely a friends for life type thing, but also knowledge for life, context for life. And a lot of people have gone on to do good things after. So summer school is a big part of the course, although it's not the be all and end all, absolutely. And some people. The other thing that summer school does is introduce you to starting to think about your dissertation year. And dissertations are very varied, depending on what people are interested in, what resource they have available to them, how much time they think they're going to be able to devote to the project. We have had a number of them published over the years. I think probably close to 20 now, but it's by no means a requisite. It's a little bit over the word count of a normal publication, so it's easily cut down to a publication. Some are very research-based. The majority are probably systematic reviews that are easy to conduct in time. Some of them are qualitative studies or surveys. And what we try and do is pair you up with a faculty member or find somebody who can work with you on your dissertation. That might be somebody who works in the same field as you, be it in a different region. It might be somebody who is in your local hospital or a hospital close to you. It might be somebody who's got specific expertise in the thing that you want to work in. We try and work things out so that you are able to get the support that you need to progress your dissertation. Year 2 is very much less structured than year 1. So you've got a lot more time on your hands in year 2, but it also means that you have to be a lot more self-directed in year 2 in terms of actually getting the dissertation done. But we do try and keep you on track with regular contact. And Elaine Cole, who couldn't be on the call today, she's the year 2 leader who will take you through those things. So I think that's all I wanted to say in terms of overview. Thank you for your interest in the course. We are very happy to answer any additional questions that you might have through, if you just email through the website, through traumamasters@qmul.ac.uk. That would get directed to Chris, and then we can pick it up from there. Hopefully we will see you, or some of you, on the course. Good. Okay, so thanks very much, everyone. Thank you to the faculty for joining the panel this evening. I hope we've answered your questions. I hope we've given you a flavour of the course and tantalised you with what might be to come. And yeah, we hope you'll join us this year or 1 year in the future. So thanks very much all. Bye-bye.